Good evening, everyone. Welcome to True Scary Stories. Tonight's story is called Searching for Bigfoot. A friend of mine, Jack, and I live in a small town in Washington State. Dense forests surround the town. We spend a lot of our free time hiking, fishing, and hunting. Before a recent hike, we joked about searching for Bigfoot. We saw a documentary on the man-beast and thought it would be fun to look for actual evidence of its existence. The experience taught us you should always be careful what you wish for. Jack and I drove to a secluded spot we had never been before and parked on the side of the road. We dressed in hiking attire, including waterproof jackets because of the light rain that afternoon. Our knapsacks contained enough food and water for the day, as well as a medical kit, some small tools, and our cell phones. All the things you should carry when you go on a hike. The terrain was mountainous. The hills and valleys made us feel as though we were on the world's slowest roller coaster. Rain began pouring as soon as we got going, but at least it kept the bugs away. According to the documentary, we were on the lookout for large tracks, broken branches, as well as teepee-like structures formed using thin, uprooted trees. Jack and I also kept our ears open for sounds such as clicks, howls, and tree knocking. I can't tell you how many times we have hiked through the woods, but for some reason it felt a little creepy this time. I don't know if it was because of the hike's purpose or not. Jack said he felt the same thing. Having said that, after a couple of hours, we failed to run across signs of anything out of the ordinary. We sat down for a bit to have a snack before heading back to the car. Jack noticed something as we wolfed down a couple of granola bars each. Out in the distance, it appeared as though 10 or 15 tall trees had been broken about 6 feet from the ground and bent towards a common center. We got up and walked over to investigate further. "There's no way a storm did this," said Jack. "Yeah, someone did this on purpose," I replied. "They'd have to be pretty tall," Jack noted, "and they did it by hand." "Do you notice that?" I asked. "Notice what?" he responded. Everything just got quiet. A low growl burst from the brush 50 yards away. Some rustling followed it. Jack and I began backing up. "Take out your phone," said Jack, wanting to film whatever it was. "You do it," I responded, though I wasn't sure why. A little black bear stumbled out of the brush. Jack and I both let out a sigh of relief. "That thing's mother is probably close by," said Jack. "We should get out of here." We walked back to our knapsacks, slung them over our shoulders, and headed in the direction opposite the baby bear. Jack and I spotted another tree structure a few minutes later. Again, they broke about 6 or 7 feet above the ground. This time, however, they were all bent in the same direction, towards the road. "This has to have been done on purpose," said Jack. "And do you notice the forest is still silent?" I asked. I don't know about Jack, but I sensed I was somewhere I didn't belong. "I'm going to get out my knife," I said while dropping my knapsack to the ground. "Oh, come on," he said. "You're being paranoid. It's just the bears. What, do you think Bigfoot's out here or something?" I ignored him and took out my hunting knife and attached it to my belt. As I slung the knapsack over my shoulder, a loud cry boomed from deep in the forest. "What the hell was that?" I asked. "I don't know what that was," said Jack. "Let's get back to the car." For the next few minutes, the cries continued every 30 seconds or so. We weren't sure if it was getting louder, closer, or both. We picked up our pace, breaking into a slow jog. The cries seemed to get louder and closer now. They also seemed to be coming from different directions. Jack and I came across another structure, this one like the first. In fact, I wondered if it was the first one we saw. "Did we circle back by mistake?" I asked. "No way," he responded. I took out my phone and tried to get our GPS location, but couldn't get any service. Jack retrieved a compass from his knapsack. "What the hell?" he said. "What's the problem?" I asked. "The needle's going all haywire. I can't get an accurate reading." "I'm almost positive this is the first structure we saw," I said. "You're crazy," said Jack. That's when I saw it. "Look," I said, pointing. It was one of our granola bar wrappers. "That's ours. That's where we were sitting. I told you we circled back." "Hey, you hear that?" he asked. "What?" The screeching stopped. Before I could relax, we heard a loud knock only 100 yards away. A couple more, both from different directions, followed it. It was as if whatever was making the sounds surrounded us on 3 sides. "Let's go," Jack said. We tore off in the only direction from which no knocks were coming. I hoped it happened to be in the car's direction. Again, the knocks seemed to get closer and closer with each passing minute. After climbing one large hill, Jack told me to stop. Having gained the high ground, we turned around to see if we could identify what, if anything, was chasing us. Though the forest animals were still silent, we thought we heard rustling in some bushes below. Tree knocks sounded behind us, in other words, further towards the car. How they got ahead of us, I'll never know. The only good news was that the knocks were still not directly behind us. Our path out of the forest was still clear. However, both Jack and I were too scared to proceed. That is until the first stone was thrown. It flew from the forest, landing 20 feet from us. A few more landed even closer before we were prompted to continue racing to the car. And so it went. The tree knocks continued on both sides, following us out of the forest. When we tired and slowed down, rocks were thrown, getting us moving again. When we finally got to the car, we didn't bother to unload our knapsacks or buckle up. We just got the hell out of there as fast as we could. Since that day, we have never been back to that part of the forest. Furthermore, whenever we do go for a hike, we are always sure to bring a rifle. Jack and I have never spoken about what happened on that hike, and probably never will. Whenever I hear people debate about the existence of Bigfoot, I just laugh. I know the truth.